Pokemon. Everybody knows Pokemon. Since 1996 when Red and Blue came out, the game has not decreased in popularity and it has only picked up more and more steam. From celebrities opening up Pokemon cards on their live streams, to Ash Ketchum finally getting to be Pokemon champion after 25 years, to the newest and 9th generation coming out this week with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Popularity really hasn't died at all. So much so that when I was a kid, I was obsessed with it, and now my nephew, who is 7, is beating Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu by himself. And that is why I seeked out a little bit of a challenge. I love these games, but they're not difficult. So I just created one of the coolest Pokemon challenges you could possibly do. Or at least to my knowledge, it hasn't been done yet. Now on this website, there are thousands and thousands of challenges, from Nuzlockes to modifications of certain games. But if you're a long-standing Pokemon fan, you've probably asked yourself at one point or another, what kind of gym leader would I be? I already know what type of gym leader I would be. But I wanted to challenge some fellow streamers and some friends of mine to see what exactly they would pick and what kind of team they would build if they were even restricted to certain generations. The reason I like this challenge so much is A, it's completely free, B, you can make it as hard or as difficult as you want it to be without having to modify or change a game at all. The only thing that you need is a handful of friends or even some fellow streamers. And that's exactly what I did. I bought myself some friends and I bought myself some streamers. That sounded a lot more sad than I wanted it to be. I have 8 gym leaders, 4 Elite Four members, and 1 rival waiting for me, so I'll try and explain this as fast as I can. So here are the rules for the gym leader. They have to pick a typing that their gym will be focused around. Dual typings are absolutely encouraged. They can have up to a max of 5 Pokemon on their team, and they can have either 1 starter or 1 pseudo-legendary on their team. They cannot have any legendary Pokemon. That means no birds, no Mewtwo, none of that stuff. The tricky part is each gym also represents a generation. I'll try and explain it the best that I can. This is a map of Kanto, with different routes and different towns all the way throughout where you can find different Pokemon and different gyms where you can then collect the badges to make your way to the Elite Four. Everybody knows Pokemon. I made my own map. Yep, it's a really good map, right? This map has routes, this map has towns, this map has gyms, and this map has gym leaders. Every route represents a generation of Pokemon. So Route 1 represents the original 150, and Gym Leader 1, let's say LibraJune, can only use Pokemon from the original 150. My logic is if they can cram a Snorlax into a tiny little ball, then I can at least cram 150 Pokemon into one route. And since each Gym Leader also represents a generation of 1 to 8, they will be fighting and battling within those rules. So Generation 2 is really kind of crap because it's slow and it's really a lot of toxic stalls and blah 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 blah. And if you get to Generation 6, you get Mega Evolutions. Generation 8, you get Dynamax, and Dynamax will stay the same throughout the entire Elite Four. That's pretty much it for the gym leaders. All the gym leaders know this. A couple times things were tweaked, but they got busy schedules, so I just let it slip. Rules for the Challenger: I can only use Pokemon on the routes that I've explored, Generation 1, 2, or 3, Route 1, 2, or 3. I should use the same number of Pokemon that the gym leader uses. I must add or change a Pokemon between every gym, and I can only have 1 starter or pseudo-legendary. And right out the gate, to get rid of any sort of confusion, I'm going to be using 1 pseudo-legendary the entire time, my boy Dragonite, which this was painted by one of the gym leaders, Memaria. So shout out to her. This big, dumb, derpy looking dragon has been my ride or die since I was a little kid, and I want to see how far I can get with him on my team. And right before we jump into all of these individuals, I want to go ahead and acknowledge that at least the first 2 to 3 generations, they don't have the same selection as the rest of them do, so they're automatically at a disadvantage when it comes to picking a type and then making a team, especially the first 2. It makes it real hard to build an entire team around 1 typing when I could have Dragonite and a couple other bangers on my squad. That doesn't mean that it's not going to get significantly harder as the challenge goes on. So shout out to the first 2 or 3 people to make their teams, because honestly, they were shockingly good. Libralonix is the first gym leader of Libertown and started off with my favorite evolution of all time, Jolteon. I was really nervous since he's the first gym leader that I have to fight, but I realized kind of quickly he was at a little bit of a disadvantage due to his selection, but he still went back and forth with me, and it surprised me just how good he is. I also got to give credit because his favorite Pokemon is unironically Pikachu, which I haven't ever met anyone whose favorite Pokemon is actually Pikachu, so to use the evolved version Raichu in battle, Gotta get props. He rounded out his quartet of 3 Pokemon with Electabuzz, and I gotta say, I was already seeing Pokemon that I did not expect to see during the entire run. Both Raichu and Electabuzz were kind of shocking to me, not a pun that was intended that time. He put up a great fight, taking out multiple Pokemon each time that we played, but this team was gonna be hard to stop. Fast, strong, and girthy. Oh, and before we move on, I gotta give his team building a 5 out of 5, strictly due to the fact that all of those electric Pokemon kinda goated. I did not expect a poison type, especially from my boy LordCautious. So I gotta admit that for him to pick poison, it was maybe the worst possible typing he could have picked for Generation 2 for my current team. Dragonite, Gengar, Snorlax, and Heracross? Unfortunately for him, we just absolutely steamrolled him, and I took a little bit of pleasure in it, I'll be honest. I took a little bit. He brought a Quillfish, a Gengar, a Crobat, and a Nidoqueen. 3 of them I actually really liked. The Quillfish, I was happy to destroy that thing and then wipe the rest of them if I possibly could. Now, I will say before we move on that Generation 2 is horrible for competitive Pokemon. It's all stall strategy and poison and all this other stuff, and so much so that we decided to play an extra match afterwards and he could change his typing. And when we decided to get into the whole stall strat of Generation 2, it took like 45 minutes. I'm not even going to show you. He did technically win his second match, but I already got my poison batch, so I was moving on. On Route 3, I picked up an extra Pokemon along the way because I knew that Matt was going to run water, and I was a little bit afraid of ice moves and water moves, mainly due to my flying. Dragonite and Aerodactyl were going to get wiped by any ice moves. I don't know if I was ready for it yet. Luckily, I had a Snorlax and a Gengar who were pretty darn good, but I needed someone else on my team just to get a little bit stronger. He had 5 Pokemon, and I gotta give props to him as well. He started each match with Spheal, the cute little walrus thing. I mean, my Dragonite clapped its cheeks and then sent it packing. My Dragonite then got destroyed by its big brother Walrein. After that, it was a mix of Ludicolo, Milotic, and Swampert. And Swampert scared the crap out of me. But somehow, we got through both battles, even with not having a ton of type advantages in this battle. I was going to need something to take on water Pokemon down the line. He also only picked Pokemon from Generation 3, which was kind of cool. But we squeaked out the W, and we're on to Gym 4. Since I'm a Gen 1er, I was already kind of prepared to handle electric, water, fire, grass, even psychic type Pokemon, just due to playing red and blue so much when I was a kid. I wasn't so much ready for steel, dark, or fairy typing. So when Shields popped up with 6 dark type Pokemon, I was a little nervous to see what would happen. He had 6 Pokemon, but I had kind of cleaned through the first 3 gym leaders, and I wanted to see how well I could hold up. So I let it slide this time. Also due to the fact that I added Lucario to my team, and if you know anything about Generation 4 Pokemon, Lucario is busted. I did not know that when I picked him, but he is broken. He's actually in the Ubers tier, which I would change the rules for to where now you wouldn't just have 1 starter, you would have 1 starter, pseudo, or Uber tier Pokemon, because Lucario was that broken. Libralonix's team was probably my favorite up until this moment. Shields' dark type team just looked awesome and intimidating, and they were all well designed. Unfortunately, they still got rolled by a rather ridiculously powerful Lucario. But it doesn't mean that within our fights, he didn't take me all the way down to my Dragonite versus his Tyranitar. The 2 OG pseudo-legendary Pokemon were duking it out. Unfortunately, my boy don't lose. I was ready to go to Gym 5. See, she knew I was going to take Dragonite, and then I thought, well, what counters Dragonite? Ice. Well, what can counter ice? Volcarona, a bug fire type that is really ugly looking but really strong. Why would I use it? Because it's got a good typing. Is it strong? It's like And let me tell you, that thing crushed. Now, Maria had a good team. The Lapras scared me a little bit. The Mamoswine also scared me a little bit. The Abomasnow is just fun to say, but I knew that Ice Queen dad joke telling mother was going to give me all that she could. And we went back and forth, but eventually my fighting types and Volcarona won out at the end of the day. It doesn't mean it wasn't probably one of the most fun fights I've had. I got very distracted. She's a very good competitor because she just constantly tells jokes the entire time. It gets really distracting, and she almost kicked my ass a few times. As for her team, I gotta give it a 2 out of 5. I like Ice-type Pokemon, but there was no Cloyster. What? Gym 6 and 7 were really fun, but I have to admit that it was just more of the same. Gym 6 was AslanSilva, who picked Psychic type, and I had a feeling that he was going to pick Metagross as his main Pokemon. And since in Gen 6 you can Mega Evolve, I also thought that Metagross was going to be his Mega Evolution. I was wrong. He gave it to Gallade, which is a really cool Pokemon, but not what I was prepping for. His team consisted of Espeon, Metagross, Gallade, even Musharna. Totally fine, but this Syphilus Pokemon, this flying abomination of a Pokemon, don't need it. Don't need it in my life. Don't want it. It can burn. Just send it. Just send it to the 7th layer of hell. During this fight, I added a Bisharp to my team to Gen 6. I swapped out an old Pokemon and put Bisharp in there because I figured I needed to get a Dark type for the Elite Four as well. Not really thinking that I was doubling up on Steel because that wasn't very smart. So I'd have to say goodbye to Lucario in the future, which I did. Oh, and before I forget, AslanSilva gets a 3 out of 5 on his team ranking because of that stupid Sigalith. In Gen 7, I fought BreezyNomad, and I have to take the blame because I didn't realize that the camera was not recording the gameplay at the correct resolution, so it looked super blurry. So it was another water gym with Greninja, Seismitoad, Tentacle, Gyarados. I really shouldn't have said Azumarill for the end, but I did. Overall, 4 out of 5 team. But I'd already gotten enough practice in on some water before, so a couple of them I was able to fly through. But the Battle Bond Gen 7 Greninja? Well, it kicked some of my ass. Ibarra's Dark type gym scared the crap out of me. Right before when she told me that she was gonna run Dark, I got a little nervous that it was gonna be that weird Grim Snarl looking thing with... And I didn't know how to combat that. I also figured it was Fairy, so my Dragonite would be owned. Fortunately for me, that wasn't on the team. Her team was an immediate 4 out of 5. Loved almost every single one of them and was ready to Dynamax, because in Gen 8 you don't get Mega Evolutions or you don't get Z moves, which we didn't even use, but whatever. You get to make big fluffy big fat Pokemon, Fluffy Eevee or Fluffy Pikachu or Snorlax with a frickin' town on his belly. What? But fortunately enough, with no Grimmsnarl meant no Fairy type and no Ice type, so my Dragonite was ready to run free. In Gen 8, I added a Toxapex because I wanted more stall, apparently. I was missing Gen 2, but it didn't really make much of a difference. Toxapex was nice to use, and I liked it way more than Ferrothorn, so I think I'll keep it for the Elite Four, but Heracross and Dragonite made short work of the Dark-type Pokemon trainer. So there it is, all 8 gyms done. 2 Dark, 2 Water. Let me try that again. 2 Dark, 2 Water. 1 Electric, 1 Poison, 1 Ice, and 1 Psychic. All down, all defeated. Now, I will say that a lot of them played me in a random battle after we were said and done just for fun. and some of those matches were really good, but I had my team and my team was crushing it. Going back, I would still change the fact that you couldn't keep a pseudo or a starter, and I would literally make it to where each person could have one Uber and the rest of them have to be in a certain tier. Besides that, I think the rules have been pretty great so far. Yeah, we've been a little lenient, but that's part of the fun. Make it more enjoyable for each kind of party and what fits each gem. But no more messing around. It was time to break down the doors of the Elite Four. I had my team ready, a squad of 5 ready to go. I had my boy Dragonite, I had my boy Volcarona. The other 3, well, I knew I needed a stall, so I went with Toxapex to protect me. And then I made sure that I had a fighting type, so I brought Heracross ready to go as well. But I wanted something with a little bit of steel so I couldn't get poisoned, so I went with Bisharp. And minus the dual bug typing, everything else pretty much covered itself, or so I thought. Now, up until now, there's been kind of however many matches we can fit in for the gym leaders we fit in. Sometimes it's best 2 out of 3, sometimes it was just 1 match and done. For the Elite Four, we needed to do it best 2 out of 3 because I needed to prove that I could beat them and move on. My team was set for the entire Elite Four. I couldn't change a single Pokemon. I could change the moves and I could change the abilities or items that they were holding, but you can't swap your Pokemon out mid-run in the Elite Four, so neither could I. Now, Paulfoxhound is a great streamer, plays a lot of FromSoft games, been playing Sonic Frontiers recently, but I also know that he had a little bit of practice in some of the harder Pokemon games, so I had to be on my guard. Rocking the team of Ferrothorn, Duraludon, Caesar, Metagross, and Cobalion. He let a legendary slip into his fingers. You know what? I had crushed 8 gyms before. I had taken on a team with 6 Pokemon. I think I can handle this. And plus, I figured I had 1 or 2 people on my team that were considered Uber tier, so it might even the playing field. And let me just go ahead and say that, holy crap, Volcarona, that dude is strong. Like, well, it doesn't really punch because it's a bug, but it's like, it was Dynamax here, Dynamax there, but my big Volcarona and my big Dragonite were good enough to get me the W at the end of the day. I won my first 2 matches, and while Paul put up a great fight, the Ferrothorn didn't stand a chance. The Metagross and Cobalion, they both got rolled on my Heracross, and the Dragonite took out the Duraludon, and the Ferrothorn and the Scissor just got burned to death. Volcarona OP. Probably shouldn't drop that microphone. It's pretty expensive mic. And as for ranking for Paulfoxhound's team, I gotta give it a 5 out of 5. Steel typing is kind of badass. So I got past the first member of the Elite Four, and it was time to move on to the second. I was ready to take down whatever got in my way. I wasn't ready for this. Look, I'll admit, in terms of video games, I'm old, and I despise fairy typing. There, I said it. Not only because I think it looks really dumb, not only because it counters my precious Dragonite, not only because they look really, really dumb, but because I'm old and I can't learn their weaknesses, or I refuse to learn. I just can't get enough information in my brain about fairy type Pokemon without pushing something useful out, like what's my social security number. I just don't have enough space in my tiny little brain to remember. So when he picked fairy type, I wasn't ready for it, but I was ready for it. Lord Barbosa knew that he could use my age against me, so he went Klefki, Mimikyu, then he threw a Weezing, which, by the way, hashtag not my Weezing. This isn't even my Weezing. This is my Weezing. And then a cute little Whimsicott, which I kind of like. I'll be honest, I like Whimsicott. Then he dropped the bomb that I wasn't ready for. His first mate, Captain Creepy. Yo, what those hands do? They get you 25 to life. And up to now, this was the closest fight yet. It went back and forth. He won the first one. I won the second one. Then I snuck in the third one. So best 2 out of 3, I took the W and he let me pass on. However, we decided to play some more rounds and he took out Captain Creepy and he threw in Cake. I used to love Cake, but I still moved on. Now, I will say that we played 2 more matches and his Cake was too much. And best 3 out of 5, Lord Barbosa won. Crushed me. He may have actually even let me win 1 or 2 because he's just that nice of a guy. For Lord Barbosa's team ranking, it's a cake. Now there are 2 left. and the two that I was most nervous about when I started this competition. ClammyGames, expert platinum trophy hunter on PlayStation and just all around great guy, was ready to hand me my ass. I was expecting ground, I was expecting rock, I was expecting fire, but he threw another ice type gym at me. I wasn't ready to go for it, but my Volcarona took out the last Ice Queen. I had a feeling I would be okay handling this one. He was rocking the Alolan Ninetales, the Weavile, the Mamoswine, the Lapras, and his boy Cloyster. If only he had an Onyx. So right out the gate, 5 out of 5 team, you gotta respect the Cloyster. And I'll be honest, this went south quick. He won one, and then I won one, barely holding on, somehow making it work with my Dragonite having 4 times weakness. My Volcarona, kinda crushing it. But what I wasn't prepared for is someone that actually really knew what they were doing and had battle tested this team before. Clammy told me that he had put it through the ringer on multiple occasions, and I just wasn't ready. So this dude knew what was going on. So for me to get one win, I was really happy. And then it came down to the third and final match, and I choked. I threw out my Dragonite at the wrong time. Done. I threw out this other Pokemon at the wrong time. Done. My dreams were over. And then he told me the 3 words that I really wanted to hear. I love you. Okay, he didn't really say that, but he basically said it with his eyes because he asked me out to dinner. And so I was like, yeah, cool. He's like, cool, you pay for dinner, then I'll just let you move on to the next person. So I was like, cool, I'll do that then. Thanks, Clammy. So I got the win, and I moved on to the final Elite Four member. What's up? Final member of the Elite Four, the champion, so to speak, Pokeyuusha. Pokeyuusha also does Nuzlocke, but I was most terrified by the fact that when I asked what typing they were using, they said normal. I didn't know what to expect. I had some fighting Pokemon ready, but I didn't know everything goes with normal. I knew I was gonna get wrecked because this dude knew exactly what he was doing. The team of Snorlax, Indeedee, Blissey, Obstagoon, and Braviary. Now Blissey and Snorlax are chunky boys, but the Braviary is the one that got me nervous. I had 2 bug type. I picked bug thinking no one was gonna be able to counter bug, but to counter bug with 1 flying Pokemon because I'm an idiot. I tried everything I could, swapping Dynamax, doing everything, lighting it on fire, punching it in the scrotum. I did everything I possibly could, but that stupid Braviary took me down, and it took me down hard. Enough to where the first 2 wins were close, and he said, we'll go for a 3rd one, maybe you can come back. I didn't, he still whacks me. Like wax on, wax off, mother. Done. You give up. Why'd you even dream of becoming a Pokemon champion? So I had to leave. I walked all the way home. Just wanted to rest and relax and be done, but I couldn't because waiting for me in my bed, that sounded really weird. Waiting for me at home was my rival, which really isn't surprising because my rival in this scenario is my brother, and I asked him to do it like a month ago, so he was like, cool, I'll happily do it. So I knew he was either going to be at the end of the game or back home, depending on if I won or if I lost, but he was back home and he was giving me crap. But I had to redeem myself after all the trash talk he was giving me. I had to fight back. He picked a squad of 6. I picked a squad of 6. My squad stayed basically the same as what it was before, and his squad was picked by his children. Can you tell me the name one more time?
PP Pants McGee.
So they could pick anything they really wanted to. They had a Alolan Ninetales, a Glaceon, Mewtwo, Raichu, Charizard, Kuno at different times. They let a 7-year-old pick his team, of course. It was more for fun. I still got stomped. So at the end of the day, I lost. And I lost bad. Doesn't mean I'm not gonna try again in the future. Just gotta build a team. Just gotta get out there and train. I just gotta catch 'em all. In all seriousness, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've gotten all the way to the end, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. It helps me out an insane amount. And for everyone that was in the video, go check them out. All their links are down in the description. And thank you so much to anybody who participated or helped in this video. I really like doing these longer form formats, but they take a lot of toll on me. So any bit of help helps a lot. So I appreciate it very much. And as always, take care of yourself and the person next to you, and I will see you next time. Oh, the reason I picked a donkey as his photo is because he doesn't want to have his face on the internet.